Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Works studio. Find one thing to move your business forward today. With conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen, follow, and subscribe on social media, Dear Business Coach pages and groups, Dear Business Coach podcast. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. And don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today. Okay, awesome. Francine, thank you for being here today and joining me. Welcome to the Dear Business Coach podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Elizabeth. It's good to be here today.
Yeah, so what we're doing today is covering some of your background. You and I had a couple of minutes to talk before, and I had a chance to learn about your background. I know that you shared with me some things that you're passionate about in your field, but also I don't really know a whole lot about how you got into your work. So I'll get you to tell us some background story too. So, and will you please introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you. Well, my name is Francine Binns, and I'm a corporate social worker. I do corporate and clinical social work. My main focus in this recent time is on company organizational culture and how it affects employee well-being. So that is my main focus in my career at this point in time. As to how I got started, um, my family background, they were all entrepreneurs, all entrepreneurs. My mother, a restaurateur, my father, he was a contractor and real estate developer. And for me, a part of what me and my siblings know is to create jobs or at least create our own line of work. And that wasn't strange growing up in Jamaica because the job market just is not that viable there. So we grew up learning how to create our own source of income. I initially wanted to go into the hospitality business, but I quickly changed that. I realized I was not cut out for that at all.
Okay.
I wasn't cut out for that line. And I decided to study psychology. Um, so my undergrad, I focused on psychology, graduated with my degree in psychology, my bachelor's. And I started working with patients, as mental health patients. I did my own support group for people with mental health diagnoses that were currently on treatment but not in facility. So they were on treatment and at home. And I did that for a few years. And then I did social work, which got me into social work. That focus was on victims of sexual abuse. I didn't work in a specific facility. What we did as a group of social workers, we created programs designed to help those working in the facilities and also tailored to the children that were in the facilities, how to handle them better because there were many issues that were going on there. Then I went into and I started my own franchise with another company. And so I was doing both. I was doing social work and running my own franchise at the time. Um, what I didn't realize with a franchise is it felt like I was an employee because
Okay.
with a franchise, you are selling somebody else's product. So pretty much you do not have any freedom to do anything to the product, to change the price, nothing like that. So it was hard to compete. It was pretty difficult to compete. And I was an underdog in the industry. My location was pretty bad. Uh,
Mm.
at first, they turned it down because they said it would never work there. And then they said, okay, we need the numbers. So they put my location. Pretty much why it was so bad, all locations were situated exactly like on the road, so passersby would see it in their face. That's how they like to position their franchises. But mine was off the road, so you had to drive off the road. I was pretty much in a parking lot, a
Mm-hmm.
kiosk in a parking lot, and you had to pass in any direction that you were coming from, you had to pass at least two other franchises that were doing the exact same thing. So it was pretty hard to compete. And that's when I started to focus on my employee well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And how I did that, because that was the only thing that I could do pretty much to compete. I couldn't change the price. I didn't have the freedom to do anything like that or add anything to the product. Didn't have that freedom. But the only thing I could do was, Simon Sinek said, for the customers to love the company, the employees have to love it first. So I decided to give them a flexible work schedule. So that flexibility in time led them to give excellent customer service. And I became the top retailer in my region for the last 5 years when I was in that franchise.
Wow, Francine. Well, that's kind of crazy. So I didn't know this part of your story and experience, I should say. It's really um, fascinating that you say that your background from your parents is really about creating your own. I guess I would, for lack of a better word, use the word hustle, right? Figure out how to support yourself. So it's not surprising to me that when you became an employer, you brought your love of psychology together with an entrepreneurial challenge, right? Is what are my resources? And it's your ability, Francine, to work with people and your love for psychology, and sounds like in a business world that naturally turns into, okay, well, how do I make this a place where people want to be? And so, like you just said, a successful business, the employees have to love it first. I don't think that's I don't think that that's hard for someone to wrap their head around, but to implement that and to bring those two schools of thoughts into practice, actually into a physical building with physical employees, as one business owner and one leader as yourself, to implement that is actually really hard. So I don't know how you even got started with that. How did you put a plan together that was going to make sense for you to bring this idea or structure this to your employees? Did you have help, or did you just show up to work one day and have a meeting and say, guys, we're going to do something new? What happened?
Um, what happened was it was hard because I was struggling. My location was struggling. The sales were pretty embarrassing. It was it was terrible in the beginning. And I needed to earn money. It was 100% commission based because it's a franchise. And I just, I thought, what do I need to do? Like, I don't have much that I can compete with. What do I need to do? And I said, people, when they're happy with the service, they tend to come back and it brings loyalty. So when they love your location, they like how, the service that you give them, it makes them want to always come back and they bring other people with them.
Okay. Hi, my name's Elizabeth Walker, host and producer of the Dear Business Coach podcast and Walker Consulting Workshops. Join me live on October 18th for the Power of Laughter Masterclass with Clayton Fletcher. That's October 18th in the Fosdeck Hall. It is a full day seminar and I'm hosting. If you would like a personal invite, please DM me on LinkedIn. You can also email me at dearbusinesscoachpodcast@gmail.com. Elizabeth Walker presents the Power of Laughter Masterclass with Clayton Fletcher. Learn from an international professional stand-up comedian what all business people should know. What do comedians do on stage every night? How do we read the room? How do we learn what our audience is connecting with us around? And how can you learn how to do that in your everyday conversations? Build rapport with your customers and employees. For executives and team leaders who speak, if you are in the Roanoke Valley or surrounding area, October 18th starts at 11 a.m. You can reserve your seats right now at the Jefferson Center box office. Pick up your copy of The ROI of LOL. That's the book that Clayton's workshop is centered around. So the co-author is Steve Cody. You can find both Clayton Fletcher and Steve Cody on LinkedIn. So my name's Elizabeth Walker, host and producer of the Dear Business Coach podcast and Walker Consulting Workshops. Please join me on October 18th and contact me now. I can help you reserve your seat or at the box office at the Jefferson Center in Roanoke, Virginia.
The other thing I know, when your employee is frustrated, it's impossible for them to give good customer service, right? Because we're human, and that's going to translate to how you're dealing with other humans. Because you're so frustrated, it's going to show. And for me, freedom of time is extremely important. It's extremely important for me to be able to not only work, but have a life. And I said, how could I give this to the people who work for me? Because when I was doing my social work, we were always in different locations, and we were always trying to find different places that we could hang out, just to unwind, because it's really heavy emotional work. Sexual abuse, it's very heavy emotional work. So we always try to, before going, look for places that we could go afterward to just release that tension. And so I decided, okay, I will not have these people working just because the standard in the industry was to work for like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days for the week, and then having the week off doing that. But I know I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that because, having to deal with customers one-on-one constantly for so many hours of the day, even though you have a week off, oh, come on.
Right.
Right? It's too much. I didn't want to do that. So I decided to split the days into shifts, half day shifts. So 6 hours here, 6 hours there, and you get to choose which one you want. And it was trial and error. It was trial and error. And naturally, it wasn't for everybody, because some people wanted more hours to get more pay. So it wasn't for everybody, but those who wanted that flexibility, it was perfect for them. I had two people who started their own business and was running their own business and working at the same time because of the flexibility of schedule. And pretty much they saved so much money on babysitting because they could choose to work, like come to work when their kids have gone to school and they're off at the time their kids are coming off from school. So they got to pick them up from school. So no babysitting. We were at school and so no babysitting charges. And it worked because they were happy. They made the customers happy, and the customers started coming in, and we got the company called it a cult following.
Oh, wow.
We had a cult following of customers because of that. So it was trial and error. And I I didn't know it was going to work. I really didn't know. But I was like, it doesn't hurt to try. Doesn't hurt to try. And yeah, it worked. It pretty much worked. And that was the number one thing that I did to increase sales. It increased by about more than 500%. It was crazy.
Well, right. I mean, that's something that I wouldn't believe you, right? If you just said that you know, if I could show you how to increase your sales by 500% in a year or something, that would be I would think it's clickbait, right? If I saw an ad like that. So
Right?
well, and one of my you know, favorite reasons to go to a business coach or to a coaching class is to get uh the folks that know what they're talking about to say things to you like, you know, use the resources that you have in front of you, use the resources that are your advantage, use your time to do the thing that you know you're interested in doing in or that is something that you can bring to the table that's your passion. So you have some kind of, I mean certainly with your professional training in social work and psychology, right, you have your own set of skills that brings something special to the table as a leader for your employees when you decided to implement this flexible work schedule. So I don't think it was just as simple as, okay, you get to pick your schedule and there's 6 hour shifts. You know, one of my questions, if I were even just say a shift leader of some kind, I would think, well, this is going to create a lot of problems as far as people feeling like they you know, and how are we going to prioritize who gets the shifts they want, you know, and and that's just even the beginning of not creating conflict amongst your team, right? If you feel like you said somebody's getting the advantage to not have to pay a babysitter and things like that, that make the flexible work schedule the reason why it's appealing. So do you think that you were able to work around those things? Are those rational fears to have if you're to implement a flexible work schedule?
You know what? Absolutely. Those were fears I had also. And it was, like I said, trial and error. But for me, we had a few staff that went through that process. They naturally just started communicating with each other.
Hmm.
And, like, oh, you know what? So and so, I have something on this week. Do you mind switching up the time with me? And they would ask me, if you could switch the time. I was like, okay, it's not my time, it's their time. I'm not, it doesn't matter to me personally who's doing it because everybody went through the same training, everybody knows what to do. So speak to your team member and ask them if they're willing to switch with you. Also, I know when you're in larger groups, it's harder to prioritize, but I do kind of ask people if you have, let's say, a graduation coming up or a PTA meeting coming up or something coming up, give me at least a week's notice so I can actually fit you into the schedule.
Hmm.
But if you don't, you will have to go to whomever is doing that day or that time and ask them if they're willing to switch with you. And seamlessly they did it even without me. Like it became so ingrained in their psyche and they had camaraderie. They worked together as a team. And if there was ever anything that they wanted to do, they would just switch and they would just say to me, Miss Binns, I switched. I know you had me for 6 a.m., but I asked so and so if she could work for me. So she switched. I switched with her. Is that okay? I was like, that's fine. I just need to know who's gonna be there. That means if somebody doesn't turn up, I know who to call. That's just let me know and I'm fine with it. And It worked. It worked because they were working as a team. It wasn't just about me setting the schedule, but everybody was actively involved in the process.
Wow. Okay. Well, before um switch to the next topic or the next section with you, now because I'm going to be asking you next about how you do this with other folks and with teams and how you teach others to do this. How can we get in touch with you and where should we be? Let's say I'm listening to the interview right now. Where can I connect with you?
The best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. You can check my profile, Francine Binns, on LinkedIn and DM me. Shoot me a DM. I'm usually very good at getting back to people within a time, at least 24-hour period. And that's my main social media platform right now. So the best place to actually reach me is on LinkedIn and just send me a direct message and I'll get back to you within 24 hours.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So Francine likes to be DM'd on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Okay. So I know that in your about section on LinkedIn, I can read a very comprehensive uh, kind of analysis of sort of the things that we can expect that I could expect from talking with you about what sort of I guess I would be coming to you for productivity, right? That would be the beginning of the conversation is how does employee mental health and engagement and happiness, health, well-being play into not only strategy but efficiency and productivity, profitability. But where we need to start is where, right? If I come to you and I'm interested in taking a focus on employee mental health and I want that to be a strategy for my business, what kinds of things can I do to get started? Will I do some kind of an assessment with you? What kind of an ideal business can you help? Who am I as an ideal customer that would be a good fit for you to take a look at working on that with me and my team?
Well, ideal customer is if you have a business with a team that works in office, even remote teams, even though there's a slightly different trajectory that goes on with 100% remote work offices. But,
Mhm.
if you have a team, usually between 10 to 500 workers, I would naturally have to come in and assess what's happening in your company because there are, simple things that can be changed. One example is the environment that they're in. What is the design of the space that they're
Hmm.
working in looks like? Because if your environment is everything. People, we downplay how important it is, the environment that we're working in. But just switching that could improve
Hmm.
engagement and productivity. So it really, really depends on what's going on for you. And, like you said, there are offices that I highly recommend hybrid situations if you're a business that can facilitate that, because not every organization can facilitate a hybrid situation. But if there are jobs that can be done remotely, I recommend giving employees that option simply because um, sometimes you have, let's say, introverts. I'm an introvert,
Hmm.
right? And I call that, even though it's not listed under neurodivergence, I call it a neurodivergency. I call
Okay. No,
it
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
it's
Good.
not listed, but I call it that. Okay. Just a disclaimer. As an introvert, I like working alone.
Mhm.
I like being in a quiet space and working in small groups. If I
Mhm.
have to work in groups, I like to work in smaller groups. And you have people who are ambiverts who they need equal amounts of alone time. And time with, doing extroverted things. Now, because of my introvertedness, sometimes, and this happens a lot in organizations, because extroverted traits are very much appreciated in society, and those who are quieter are more misunderstood. Um,
Hmm.
Having a workplace that facilitates that, where somebody like me can be doing things at home that can be actually done remotely, I would be working at my best. I would be giving my best to the company because I have that option. And also, coming in sometimes and also having, just not to be in isolation, knowing what's happening in the company, having time where I'm actually coming into the office, I would be working at my absolute best. If I had to go to an office every single day where it's very noisy, there's a lot happening, and I would not be at my best. And it's not because I don't want to be, it's just because the situation and the environment is not conducive to how my brain works.
Yeah.
So we have to bear these things in mind when we have our employees, because we are dealing with people, right? And people, we don't fit into, we're not like programmed to fit into this box. We're not AI where, you can program it to do something and it's just going to do it and it has no emotions, right? We have
Hmm.
feelings, we have things going on in our lives, and we spend most of our time at work, minimum for some 40 hours, right? That's a lot of hours to be spending doing something. If you are, if your mental health is taken care of, if you're in a space where you feel like you can work at your best. I'm a morning person, and so I can do my morning hours at work, whether be it at home or in the office. I'm gonna give you my best work because that's when I function at my absolute best. But if you put me on a night shift, then naturally I'm not gonna be even if I want to, I'm not
Right.
gonna be functioning at my very, very best. And it's my personal belief, and studies have also shown this, that, you know, when you allow people to do what they do best, then it's natural that productivity is going to increase. It's just natural that productivity is going to increase. When people are in an environment where they feel appreciated, where they feel taken care of, it's not this just like the office space doesn't look just clinical and shabby and you don't feel good sitting in there. Come on, you're not gonna be, even if you want to,
Even if you want to. Hmm.
you're not going to be functioning at your absolute best. So if we can create an environment that people want to be in, it's natural that you're going to attract the best talent. That's sure. You're going to retain that talent, and you're going to have an environment that stimulates creativity, innovation, and productivity.
Yeah, and so is it does it take a lot of time, right? If I'm used to, or if myself and my team are used to a traditional 40-hour work week, um well, actually, having said that, and Francine Binns comes to my location or my office and wants to talk to me about creating an environment for employee mental well-being and mental health. Is that what I am telling my employees you're here for? How when Francine comes to my team and we talk about implementing some new strategy, what am I telling my team we're doing, and what does this look like as a process for them and watching me work with you?
Um, when I go in, I like to work with everybody because everybody is involved. And so what I like to tell people is that I'm here to create an environment that's conducive to everybody's best interest. And so it's not just about what the leaders want,
Mm,
but it's also about the people within the organization and what they want. And sometimes you find that those who are already there, it's not the right environment for them.
mm.
Not because they can't do the work, but you need the money and it's available. And you find that it's not the right environment. Sometimes you find that, okay, it's the right environment, but I'm doing the wrong type of work. I'm
Mm.
Probably I'm here and I'm doing customer service, but my greatest skill is graphic design. And I can create like the most awesome inviting logo website for you, but you didn't know that because I applied to be a customer service rep and graphic design is actually my hobby. Right? There are people.
Yeah.
It's actually, there are things that we do that we take for granted that we're actually, like effortlessly do them and we take them
Mm-hmm.
for granted. And we apply because it's available.
Yeah.
I did my certificate or my degree in that. And so, let me just do this in this way. But when you get to know your team, and I like to put people in smaller teams within the company. And that way you get to know that their skill sets and they're working with other people and you know how to, you know, it's the managers are better able to see what each individual can do because they're
Mm-hmm.
in smaller groups and they're working together and you have that camaraderie and just like I said, like even though my employees were working on different shifts, they had minimal time together, like 20 minutes they would be together during the day.
Yeah.
And they were able to work with each other in this way where, they were able to seamlessly work through their scheduling times with each other. And they only
Right.
spent 30 minutes, maybe the most an hour together each day.
Yeah.
So it's about working with everybody and seeing if everybody is in the best place for them. It takes assessments. Um, it takes time. And of course, change is a process. It's not gonna be like this overnight. Ooh, magic wand when you come in and things. It's a process. Um, and I work through the process. And it really is an individual thing because each company, it doesn't matter if you're all using the same tools and you're all in the same game, your system is different. And that's what makes you competitive, your culture, your system, and how you utilize those tools. So I work with you to see what kind of team you have, what kind of organization you have. And it's not, I'm not afraid to say, well, probably what you, what I have is not what you need. And I only know that
Mm.
after I come in and assess that because I don't want to work with you and that's not what you need. You know.
Right. Well, that's an excellent point, right? If you guys, if you and the team leader or business owner, we can make sure that we're a right fit together from the beginning. That's I'm not sure that everybody does that. Yeah.
That's important. That's important for me. That's
Right. Well,
uh,
that's very generous of you, as well as a professional to say to be able to let start with the assessment. Well, now let me make sure that I probably am probably taking up too much time here, so let me make sure I'm doing a good job. So what I want to make sure that we do is say again that folks can find you and start a conversation on your LinkedIn profile. It's Francine Binns, and that is FrancineBinns, right?
that's correct. You're right.
Okay, awesome. And so in the LinkedIn profile and in your about section, there's a lot of detail there that's gives me an overview, a lot of very similar to what we're talking here about your background in social work, your passion for in implementing the right, as you say, the right fit, and doing this as a process. And there are some impressive stats there as well, as you mentioned before. Like, what happens when you actually think about the employee's happiness and well-being? And if 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 I could ask you to leave us with maybe one or two things about, I don't really have all of your bringing in all of the examples and all of the experience that you have as a social worker. I think I have so many questions, especially if you have a background in helping facilitators and children. So you definitely have this very deep human component to your understanding of how people um, process difficulties in their life, I guess. And those things don't just they're not separated in a box away from work, right? So I would think that maybe one of the things that I would think about when reaching out to you, knowing that about your background, not just Francine, the employee engagement uh, right, consultant, but you have a very personal touch probably to why a team or a business owner would find this kind of engagement, would find this kind of approach or strategy important. So is there something that you would like to say to folks, when they are reaching out to you? Encourage me, to share something about myself as a team or a business owner when I reach out to you, that would help me give you some ideas to why I'm reaching out to Francine Binns, right? Is it worth my time to say, well, I as a team owner, I'm really passionate about my employees. We have families and children, and take care of our parents and our neighbors and things like that. Are those important things to share with you about what our business goals are, about how we're assisting our employees?
Yes, those are important things to share with me. And if you notice that there are employees showing signs of burnout within the organization, because I like to tackle burnout from the systemic level as opposed to the individual level, because sometimes individuals are burnt out not because of things that are within their control, but are things that are outside of their control.
Mm,
And if you find that productivity among your employees and engagement is a problem, then reach out to me if you find that you're having more people checking out for burnout, absenteeism, things like that. Those are good things to reach out to me about. But it's not just about that. If you already have a good team and you want a better team, you want to create an environment that stimulates more innovation, you want to have more interesting meetings, because
mm,
meetings are like meetings, a lot of people are like, oh, not another one, right? And
right.
some people feel like the meetings are just long and they just say a lot, but nothing really happens after the meeting. Now, if you want to
Yeah.
have more effective meetings, reach out to me as well, because I can. If meetings is all you want to look at in your organization, then you can reach out to me, because um there are many ways to have meetings that don't take up too much time and actually have employee engagement, not just doing
Mm,
it in the old way, but even including the ones that are introverted and don't necessarily speak up within your organization, because you're missing out if you have those people and they're just sitting there quietly. You are missing out on all the things that they have to say that could be a game changer within your organization. So if you just want to have better meetings, reach out to me. If you just want that engagement, or you just want to do something to 2x your business and you want to try something different, reach out to me.
I love it. Well, that's fantastic advice. I'm so glad that you said that. Thank you so much for being here today, Francine. And DM Francine Binns on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It was great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Work Studio in Floyd, Virginia. This has been an episode of Dear Business Coach.